Hey everyone, we are back for part 2 of our 3-part series on plantar fasciitis. If you missed part 1, be sure to go back and check it out. It's all about background and the assessment of risk for plantar fasciitis, so be sure to check that out. This week we're talking about the mobility exercises that are most relevant to you based on what you found in your assessment. So let's go into some mobility.
Hey guys, this is the corrective mobility exercise. If you did the Thomas test and you found that you had tightness in the front of your hip or in your quad. Hey guys, so to start this stretch, you're gonna need a couple things. You're gonna need a pillow or some type of a soft cushion to protect your kneecap. And you're gonna need either a step or a low stool or a low chair for your front leg. I'm gonna set Kirk up here so that he can demonstrate the position that I wanna see you in to access these 3 tissues. So Kirk, if you take a lunge position with the involved leg, the leg that you need to stretch on the cushion, you're gonna put the other foot up on the step or on the low surface. This is just a way to assure that your low back and your pelvis are rotated back into a position that doesn't result in your back going into hyperextension, archy back. So with this leg here, you're just gonna shift your hips forward towards the step. You can squeeze your glutes a little bit, tighten your butt to help reinforce that pelvic position. If you're one of the people that during the Thomas test you found that your thigh wasn't parallel to the ground, it was up off the ground, you don't need to be up on your toes on the back leg. You can actually just keep that flat because really you're trying to primarily stretch the front of your hip joint capsule. If you're one of the people whose knee couldn't bend in that position, then you're gonna come up on the toes so that you have your knee just a little more bent because you're gonna be trying to bias your long quad or your rectus femoris that comes down the front of your thigh. If you're one of the people that had tightness in your TFL, IT band, where your leg sprung out to the side, you're gonna stay in this position, but you're gonna shift your hip a little bit more towards the side that you're stretching, in this case towards the camera, towards Kirk's left side to help bias that side. You can almost, if you have the balance to do so, bring this arm up over your head to fully elongate, open up this whole entire side, IT band, TFL, into the low back, which is also usually involved in these cases. If during the lacrosse ball test you found soft tissue limitation, hard spots, tender spots, trigger points in your low back or in your glute, or if you have a history of low back problems, sciatica, frequent flare-ups, this is how you're gonna fix that problem using a lacrosse ball. There's a lot of tissue to mobilize in this part of the body, so I wanna give you a quick tutorial on how to find it. You're gonna be below the ribs, but above the pelvis in this zone here, off to one side. This is the soft meat here. When you move down to the glutes, you also have a huge muscle that's gonna be full of tender spots, trigger points. You have glute medius on the upper section, you have piriformis, another inch or 2 down, but I don't want you to neglect the hip rotators, which are the lowest section of hip muscles, hip rotators that come across just above the hamstring and the crease of your glute. To mobilize the hip rotators, all you're gonna need is a lacrosse ball. We're gonna use a shot put because it's easier for you guys to see what Kirk's doing when the ball's under his glute. So Kirk, if you assume the position for us, he's gonna get this ball right in that little section of hip rotator that I showed you a minute ago. He's gonna be bearing most of his weight on his opposite side leg so he can keep the leg he's mobilizing relaxed, and his right arm in this case is supporting some of his weight as well. And it's important to know that because this is very close to the sciatic nerve, it's not gonna take much pressure. In fact, if it's too tender, you could almost do it against a wall leaning into it. But Kirk's doing it on a solid steel shot put because he's that kind of guy. And he's gonna do the same thing as he did in his low back, where he's exploring around his hip rotators to find the areas that feel a little lumpy, the trigger points, the knots, the hard spots in the muscle, and he's gently mobilizing through them to try to tenderize them. He can also, though, spend some time just hanging out on a spot if it feels especially tender, 30, 60 seconds, taking some deep breaths until it melts away, until it relaxes. So to mobilize the low back or the hip rotators and the glutes, all you're gonna need is a basic lacrosse ball and something to elevate your legs, either a chair, couch, or the stairs. Kirk's gonna lie down on his back, starting with his low back and his QL, his quadratus lumborum muscle in his low back. He's gonna get that ball right into the soft, meaty part of his low back. Just above his pelvis. If he's too low, he'll be on the bone, that'll be uncomfortable. He's gonna explore around the soft, meaty spot lateral to his spine off to the side to look for trigger points. With his legs up, it'll help to push his back down into the ball a little bit harder. And as he explores around, he's looking for trigger points. A trigger point is a hard knot in the muscle that results from the muscle working too hard, that results from the muscle being overloaded, over tight. So he's either going to explore around to mash on that tissue, or he's going to sit on it and hang out there as he's taking deep breaths until it eases, and that can take 30 to 60 seconds in some people before he switches to the other side. If you found that you had stiffness in your ankle joint and or you had stiffness in your calf muscle, we're going to show you a stretch for each. These two stretches are almost identical, and they're dependent on you being in the right foot and ankle position to actually get anything accomplished. So Kirk's going to first start mobilizing his ankle joint proper. He's going to do that by putting his involved side, his stiff side, back. The other side comes forward so he has somewhere to go. He's going to make sure his foot is straight, pointing straight ahead, if not toed in just a little bit. Then he's going to roll his arch higher so his foot is supinated. He's almost rolling toward the outside of his foot. The last thing he's going to concentrate on as he flexes his knee forward to stretch his ankle is that his knee is actually tracking out towards me over the little toe side of his foot. Now, the first thing that a lot of people want to do is they want to lose that nice foot position, that supinated foot position they just found. You have to really work hard to keep the arch high and to keep the knee tracking out. It takes a lot of intention, a lot of concentration to do that right. He's going to sit there and either hinge in and out of that, or he's going to just stay there and hold it. I want him to spend at least a minute, maybe even 2 minutes per ankle working on that joint because the capsule is so hard to stretch. It's just going to take some time to get it loosened up. If you had calf stiffness, either on its own or in addition to your ankle being stiff, this stretch is going to be very similar. We're going back old school PE class here with the old-fashioned runner's wall stretch. But no, this is the modern version because Kirk's going to have to work really hard to keep his foot in the right position again. So I'm going to reinforce that I want his foot straight, even toed in a little bit. I want his arch rolled up and out, so his foot is supinated, almost rolled to the outside of his foot. And then he's going to lock this knee straight this time, so we bias his calf muscle up here. He's going to come forward and work really hard to make sure his foot stays in that position, because if you're tight, your foot's going to tend to want to pronate, it's going to want to spin so it turns out, and you have to really work hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. Only way you can get into the calf muscle and really lengthen it out in that new position. This is super awkward. Both the ankle stretch and the calf stretch should feel a little awkward to get your foot into the right position so it's effective. With this stretch, I'd prefer that you hold it there. I'd prefer that you go into the stretch, spend some time, at least 60 seconds, maybe up to 2 minutes, lengthening out that tissue, giving it time to fully release.
Thanks for checking out this video on plantar fasciitis. We have a ton of more stuff on our channel for injury prevention and whatnot, so be sure to subscribe to our channel if you want to get access to some more of that cool stuff and updates as they pop out. We're putting out 3 videos a week. It's crazy. Anyways, if you had any questions or comments for either me or Charlie, be sure to drop a question down in the comments so we can get back to you guys as quickly as we can. And of course, if you like this video, let us know by hitting the like button below. That'll help us get the good word out about plantar fasciitis and fixing it. Thanks again for watching this video, guys. We'll see you in the next one.